So today I'm in a place just west of the Tabernas village and a desert. And it's a small town. I don't even actually know the name of it because my friend asked me to come over here. And we're just spending a bit of time just away from all the weather. This is the only area in Spain currently that doesn't experience much of the storms that are going on in the west. And it's pretty insane at the moment in Portugal and Andalusia. Like, my family is sending me messages about, all the flooding and evacuations going on. And here it feels like nothing's happening. It's just such a world apart. And I walked above the road, and as you can see behind me, this beautiful mountain bridge, and the town is just below, and it's actually getting fairly close to sunset right now. I'm not sure how much longer I'm going to spend here because my friend that I'm traveling with at the moment is actually leaving tomorrow, so I'm going to be on my own again. It's actually kind of hilarious how frequently I've been able to escape the worst weather on my travels so far. Every time I seem to leave an area, that's when the worst weather strikes. So a few of my friends have started to suspect that I've got something to do with it. Well, I won't be saying much, but I'll keep my secrets. You can get a bit of a close-up look of an almond tree here. At least I believe it's almond. I'll have to look it up later because the flowers look a bit like apple or pear. But you see how all these new leaves, if this tree thinks it's spring, it's crazy. It's just gone February. So I made it down to the processing plant, which is down just above where we were parked. And I had to do a bit of reading up because I had no idea what these kilns are for. And apparently they were used in the 1900s to process iron ore. These very helpful information panels just told me that these each processed 50 tons of ore a day. And you can tell there's a whole bunch of them lined up in a row. Good morning. So I am still in the desert, as you can probably tell, and currently I am not too far from the motorway, so you might hear some noise in the background. So the car's passing by up there. But this is like an old dry riverbed that you can basically follow all the way down alongside the motorway. You can tell it looks almost like a beach, the way that the water retreats and leaves these marks behind. There's occasional sunshine breaking through, that's why I'm wearing my sunnies. But this landscape's pretty cool. It's down here is pretty safe to walk. Last night I was up on that ridge over there, which is definitely a little sketchier to walk, so I've got to be careful. So you can walk up to a cliff and not really realise you're next to one until you get right up to it. But luckily I am a bit of a coward, so I don't tend to take any risk. Now, something that's been on my mind in the last couple of weeks is obviously when you follow the news, you tend to always get kind of barraged with all this information, all these things happening in the world, and it's always the peak of chaos and all that stuff. And obviously we're in this the drama mill of the news and stuff, and we're very aware of how the internet can kind of amplify all this negativity. I'm not sure if it's my personality or that I've actually changed in that regard, but it doesn't really seem to bother me that much anymore. The world will do as the world does, and I think obviously things aren't as dramatic as they seem. As in, there is bad shit happening in the world, but I don't think it's any worse than it used to be. It's just more amplified. And the only way to shield yourself from it is to consciously tune out from it. And tuning out is not a bad thing. You can tune out of things without being apathetic. Because I am not apathetic. If I were to be apathetic, I wouldn't be. Why would you have any reason to be kind to people and fellow creatures around you? being constantly confronted by it is just not good for your brain. Like, our monkey brains love it. They love the drama, they love tapping into it, they can't get enough of it. So it takes a real conscious effort to kind of shut that down. And it's something that I've definitely been doing as of late, you know? I'm tired of talking about the drama that goes on in the world so much. I get tired of even listening to myself talk about it, so I won't, It's just not very interesting. The things that interest me at the moment are things that get me actually excited, not things that drag me down. So I've been really quite excited lately about tackling more creative things and creative endeavors. It's something I've always done, I think, throughout my life. I've never been, a master of one kind of person. I always like to explore new skills and new, ideas and different ways of expressing myself. But I still always had this idea in my mind that I needed to be good at something in order to put it out into the world. I think that's kind of a silly attitude to have. I'll never be a photographer in a strict sense of the word. But it doesn't mean I can't take pictures and not enjoy the expression of the medium that it gives me. And I think sometimes the ignorant attitude to things can actually kind of help make things interesting, because I don't think about how it should look or the rules that are associated with it. I've got enough of those rules in my head when it comes to illustration, so why not try a different approach with different kinds of art? And that sounds very poncy, but I'm enjoying doing this. And even illustration wise, like for example, for this project that I'm doing at the moment, I did a thing which is basically graffiti, right? In the desert, I spray painted a wall, and I'll insert a few pictures here, but I won't show the video because the video itself is part of the project, so I won't share that here. But some of the pictures of the end result, and the idea is that it's an approach to graffiti that's obviously not what a graffiti is supposed to look like, and because it comes from an illustrator's perspective rather than that of a graffiti artist. But I don't care, I'm enjoying doing it, and whatever comes out of it, that's what it is. You need to dedicate your entire life, I think, to doing one particular art to become even a slight approach of a master at it these days. And it's admirable, but it's not me, it's not. I'll always be somebody who flutters around and wants to do a little bit of everything, because the world's just such a cool and interesting place, and I can't let all these things pass me by without trying them. This is Editing Snail speaking, and I had to cut out a whole bunch of footage from the next bit because the wind was just too strong in the microphone. But basically what I'm talking about in the next segment is the fact that for a long time during COVID, my creativity was kind of hampered. And I was kind of talking about how I've gotten back into art and, all the associated stuff with it. So, back to the video. For many years, even after I bought my van and started traveling around, that was just me. I didn't feel the desire that much to express myself, and I thought that feeling wouldn't come back. I was just resigned to doing illustration for work, but that's the only thing it would only ever be. It would just be work. It wouldn't be an innate desire to make something and to put something out into the world. And and I was like, okay, so what if it will be this way for the rest of my life? What if? Will I be okay with that? But somewhere, I guess maybe in the back of my mind, I knew it wasn't permanent. It would come back to me eventually. And the funny thing is, I think I'm in right now, last year or so, I think it's finally starting to come back. And it's really exciting. I'm actually more excited about the fact that it's coming back at all, that innate desire to express myself. Even making these videos, this is a way of expressing myself. I would have never done this a year ago. And again, the want to do it for no other reason. So not to show anyone else, just for me, because I want to do it. And again, I was putting pressure on myself to want to express myself, but you can't force creativity, can you? Of course you can't. But I was disappointed by it. It felt like a part of my identity had been stripped away or changed, and I was like, okay, I think that's the main crux of the story, is that I knew it would come back to me. But I had to be okay with the idea that it wouldn't. I had to be okay with the idea that I had permanently changed. And if I was okay with that, the idea that I could just be a different person now, then I could allow myself, open myself up to new experiences. And if you have these new experiences, then maybe you'd be like, okay, I want to output. I want to put stuff out into the world again, just for the sheer joy of doing it. And sometimes it means patience. Sometimes it means, doing some traveling, just absorbing the world around you. And maybe it's like a jug. My jug was empty for a long time, and I just kept filling it with experiences and with all these things, and eventually it will spill over. And the spillover is the output, And sometimes it also takes a bit of luck to have the right, people come into your life as well. And again, last year I've been incredibly lucky finding some new friends who are definitely part of me becoming excited again. And it doesn't mean that my life would have been worse, like, for example, again, I had accepted this idea that if I were to just be a changed person, if I would have been just happy being somebody who absorbs the world, that's okay too. That still means happiness to me. I don't need expression to be happy. But now things are shifting again slightly, and I find that not expressing myself does take something away. It does make. I do need it to be happy, and that's a good feeling. It's a great feeling. It's like breathing, There's some small part of me that's suddenly opening up again, and I'm like, oh, that's still there. It's like going into the attic and finding like a photo album. You're like, oh, I remember that. Oh, that was a good day. Oh, that was a good memory. Oh, I've completely forgot that person existed. The funny thing is, all different now, and that's cool too. It's great, Like, my interests and hobbies have entirely changed since I was a child, which they should, hopefully. But it's just crazy to me to realize that I can still do something with that, rather than, because I had this very set idea of what my expression had to look like when I was young, and now I don't. Now I can just do all these different things and just take them for what they are. Just enjoy them as they are, without putting any limiters on it or any kind of definition of what art is supposed to be, which is ridiculous anyway. It's at least it's better than AI shit, right? At least it's made by a human who had to think about what they were doing and had this kind of innocent look at things. I really like the innocence. Is another thing with AI generated imagery. It's like they can never be truly innocent in a way, because they scrape everything from the internet and the wider world, so they have a very big overview picture, and they can never, if you ask a child, like, draw a leopard, they might have a vague idea of what a leopard looks like, but it won't look really like a leopard, An AI can never do that, unless you prompt it, like, make something that looks like a children's drawing, but then it will just make a very well-informed picture of what it thinks a child's drawing is supposed to look like, rather than this authentic, not knowing of what something looks like. And I think that's pretty cool. And yeah, I miss the innocence in art, I guess, a little bit. And it's something I'm currently approaching with various media. So I'm back in my van after my walk this morning. And well, the one thing with living in a van, it's keeping stuff clean. So I always try to get in through my cab door and then take off my shoes while I'm here, so I don't get the rest of my van dirty. But yeah, since I'm planning to get myself a new van in a couple of months, I hope that I can figure something out that makes it a bit easier to keep the carpets clean, you know what I mean? It's actually the next day right now, and it's lovely and warm. The weather's really looking up. It's like 20 degrees every day, which is crazy warm compared to the incredibly cold winter we've had so far. This is actually more usual for the desert, you know. I'm like in my t-shirt, feeling good. This is the warmest day we've had all year. And yeah, I walked up to the dry riverbed, and I've come up onto this structure, which is like probably part of the old riverbed, but it's all like, you can tell it's not stone, it's made of like compacted dirt. And you can smell it too, like the smell coming off it is really earthy. Because I was up on the ridge yesterday and I could see it from above. And it looked almost like a maze made of like mud banks. So I'm just gonna have a quick look and explore. Oh, that's pretty cool, look at that. So this is not made of rock. So if it were to rain any heavier here, this would just crumble down because it's just mud, you know? This could all just, yeah, I can just break bits off. None of this is rock. Incredibly impermanent, and still, this is deep. I'd say this is like what, 4 or 5 meters maybe? It almost looks like a stalactite cave, you know? Those drippings. And this ground is not solid whatsoever. You can just push this away. I wish I was more of had more geology knowledge. I'd be able to actually say something with some authority. Yeah, when I was filming yesterday, I also mentioned how I don't know how often this is filled with water, because you can tell there's tracks of water, but it really doesn't rain that often here. It's the least rainfall of any area in Spain. Going to this bend in the river now, which is just absolutely massive. It's hard to justify or to really see on the camera how vast this is. That this wall, this rock wall, look at the layers, you know, shaping around. Just earlier I saw my first snake. I think it was like it's called like a horseshoe whip snake, I believe. I looked it up, and there's only it's a species of snake that's fairly common to the region, and I'm not scared of snakes at all, so it was lovely little encounter. But it's funny how you're walking along and you see something on the ground and you're like, something in that mammal brain, it's like that's not a rope, watch out, careful. It's crazy how tuned into those kind of dangers we are. Interesting landscape. It's like kind of grassy and there's some shrubs and trees, but then the riverbed on the background.